Good afternoon, everyone. This is Anthony Wall Street Trader. It's 12:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, August 10th, 2021. Okay, before we get started, this is not financial advice. The intended purpose of this video is for education. Please click the subscribe button. Please click that bell. And please click the like so that we can escalate the greatness of NuCypher for the broader view. Click the Intraday Updates if you want to stay up to date with my Intraday Updates on Twitter, so that everyone knows. A week and change ago, I bought an extra 25% of my allocation onto NuCypher. So I have a little more risk than I wanted on this right now, which is fine. So it actually reduced. I have more of it, which is the risky part. However, my average cost basis pulled back. Pulled back to what? To 39.2 cents. You see that right down here. Now, the move here was not my normal recourse. However, just given how dire straits things were looking and how cheap this thing was looking, sometimes you have to recalculate your risk reward. And in this particular case, we certainly hit a real rock bottom. So, so that everyone knows, you typically want to stick to your guns. It's not that your strategy will always stay the same, but you should keep your strategy in place for as long as you can. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at right now. And just going into the markets, taking a look. Here's the NuCypher US dollar pair. We talk about this ad nauseum. I will say one last time, this is a bullish broadening wedge. Now, if you took a position down there, man, this was my screaming buy, hit your head against the wall buy. And by the way, and bang the desk, pound the fist, pound the table. Now, we went all the way from 17 cents way up to 32 and change. Almost a 100% return within, I don't know, less than a couple of weeks. So, taking things into perspective, this broadening wedge, which is descending, meaning it's pointing down, but it's broadening. You can see it. The wedge is the other way. The wedge comes to a point, but a broadening wedge is the opposite. So a broadening wedge that's pointing down, which is what you see here on the screen, embodied within the two yellow lines, that means that once this thing finally breaks through this yellow line, we should see a monstrous rally. And the monstrous rally should take us at least up into this range up here, 80 cents or so. Look, we're at 27 cents. If you don't have a position in it by now, you should reconsider. If you already have a position by now and you've already invested way up here, well, you know what? What are you going to do? Sell it? Well, I would say no. I would hold on to it. Now, again, that's just my personal belief, not knowing any of you guys from Jack. However, let's move over to NuCypher Bitcoin. NuCypher Bitcoin, as I mentioned, something was going to burst between here and this point, which was August 11th. Well, certainly went down. A little scary ride down that way on the NuCypher Bitcoin pair, but then bam. Having probably a lot to do with the infrastructure bill yesterday, such that they had pulled out a lot of anti-crypto monitoring. So they wanted to do a lot more monitoring on the crypto environments, which was bad for us. In fact, the NuCypher CEO, McLean Wilkinson, brought it up to call your senators, etc. So if you actually did that, well, congratulations, it worked. So anyway, so that was good news for the crypto universe, probably catapulting this NuCypher Bitcoin pair up dramatically. Now, if we look over at Bitcoin US dollar, I mean, we're seeing some significant. Now, this green line I have drawn from the beginning of these videos, probably the first or second video, I drew this line. And this line represents a long-term support area, generally speaking, from back in March of 2020 up until this point here, until we broke down. And we broke down a couple of times before, but we finally made a breakdown over here. Now, we have started to melt back up. Well, what does that mean? It doesn't necessarily mean we're back on track per se. However, we are back on that green line, which is pointed to my original target, my end of year target for Bitcoin, which I've said over the last few months is 80,000. I still think we're slated for that. Now, FundStrat came out recently. Tom Lee, who's the CEO of that company, which is a big research company, believes that this is going to 100,000. I'll take it. If we get there, that's great. However, I have to still kind of feel like 80,000 is the more reasonable view for an end of year target. Just given, if you look at the bottom of the screen where it says December 21st, December 31st, and if I was to draw this line straight through, we're hitting 80,000. So I think, maybe a little higher than that. That's fine. It's not to say that we're going to get there, so don't get all excited. This stuff is risky, as I've mentioned on multiple videos. Now let's move over to Bitcoin dominance. Oh, let's just remember, and if you subscribe to Twitter, you would have seen me point out this pennant formation here. Now, if we drill into it, what happened, which was amazing. As this thing started to come up, I'm like, all right. So I tweeted it out before this thing broke out, and then I tweeted again when it started to break out. And I had said we're going to hit 43,000 in short order. Not only did we hit 43,000 in short order, but we continued all the way up. And what did we hit very recently? 46,000 and change this morning. A little under pressure right now. Now, again, this is not going to be very easy. Now, if I was to just draw this line out here, we start to see that there's a few touch points on this orange line. That orange line started back only a few days back when we started this real rally, when it was getting into this pennant formation. Now, if we break this line, my first point, it could break dramatically. It could first start off by hitting the 43, 44 range, and then probably if it continues down, probably the next stop is 42, 43. Now we're over the 41, 42 range, which is fantastic. But I'm not worried about Bitcoin long term, so just keep that in mind. Now on which is remarkable here, and what has thrown me off a little is this. We are still on a downward. We are definitely going down in this Bitcoin dominance pair, which concerns me a little bit on the short term. Clearly, we broke down, came back up, trying to get back over this line here. And we'll see. We're going to continue to monitor it. It doesn't seem to be having any real impact, though, on the altcoins or Bitcoin itself. So, I'm kind of happy to see that, everything's healthy, just given this doesn't look great. But we just have to keep our eye on this. Again, as I mentioned, getting Bitcoin dominance to 50 or higher, because I consider Bitcoin a reserve currency for the crypto market. I think it's important that we get ourselves into that, into that dominance of 50 or higher. So that's all I've got right now. NuCypher's at 27. Again, this thing's probably going to be a little volatile over the next few days. But again, long term, if we can continue up this way, we're in good shape. Again, if I look at the shorter term view, we definitely have a bottom here. We're just going to have to see. At this point in time, I think we're going to need to stay above this area here of support underneath the orange line, which means we need to stay over 25, 24 and change. We don't want to get breakdown here, because then that means we go down to 21 and then we have to start repositioning what we're planning on doing. But right now, I think overall we're very healthy. The trend is higher, so we have to keep our eye on it, and I'll talk to everyone soon. Cheers.